We're back with episode 36. Today we've got a wee bit of a Highland League legend in the studio. Somebody who's been mentioned quite a few times on the show through different 11s. We've had Ian MacArthur's 11, Russell Mackay's 11, John Teasdale's 11. Mr. Chico Mchardy, how are you, sir? Are you fine today?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah. You're mentioning that retired now.
Oh, Dave. Aye, 7 years.
7, enjoying it?
Oh, aye.
Aye.
Can't beat it.
It's
Then I went to work in cold days again.
No, nobody does. Nobody does. With the podcast, Chico, I always go right back to the start because I like to get the full story of Abdi's career. So my first question is, how good a football player were you as a kid, and what age did you realise you had a bit of potential?
Probably about 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
Once we'd come out of Bishopmill school and went to the academy.
Aye.
And I was a striker in these days. And I've scored 3 or 4 goals every game.
Aye. I think Abdi starts out as a striker, don't they?
That's right. Aye.
Would you say, as a kid, you stood out at that age, or was there anyone else round about your age who was coming through as well that you were kind of on the same level as?
Well, in our school team, let's say the first year in the academy, the only other player I think that played Highland League football was Neil McIntosh.
Oh, aye. Neil's a coach now. Aye.
I think he was the only one. He was at Nairn County. Later on went to Collie. I think me and him were the only ones that came out of our school team, and we're a school team that I think went through the season without getting beat.
Aye, yeah.
Aye.
Sign a good team, isn't it?
Well, I think all Elgin Academy's teams at that time were
strong.
Were top teams.
Yeah.
But they had a big area to cover from, because there was no high school or nothing.
Aye, of course.
And there wasn't even Aberlour at that time. And I think Lossy came to Elgin as well.
Mm-hmm. Aye, big catchment area.
Aye. A
huge difference, it does. As a young man, Chico, did you hate any football players that you looked up to?
Oh, well, I've been a sort of fan of my life.
Good man.
Seeing boys like Billy McNeil and Bobby Murdoch and them, it was a different class then. Later, wee Jinky, he played for Elgin.
Aye.
Alongside me.
Yeah. How did that, as a boy who's Celtic fan, watching them teams growing up, how was that like standing next to the wee man?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I'm number 6, he's number 7, sitting next to him in the changing rooms.
Aye.
I can give you a wee story on it. We had blue towels to get washed, to get dried rather, after a game. And the first game, I think it was against Brora Rangers, and Jimmy says, I'm going to dry myself a blue towel. So the chairman, Tom Gordon, at the time had to go up to Benji Miller's, which was on the high street at the time, and get a green towel for him.
I absolutely love that. What a legend the wee man is, like, absolutely brilliant. Right, Chico, kind of going back to the start as a young man, Bishopmill, I'm very interested because I'm kind of running the current Bishopmill. You've been very supportive of us kind of getting things going again, but you played as a young man for Bishopmill?
When I left school, I went and I played for Bishop. I was an ace form signing at Elgin, but I went and played for Bishopmill for about, I think it was a season and a half. Well, I could have played for one season, then joined Elgin, but I refused to join Elgin because I wouldn't get a regular game.
Aye.
And I was there for a year and a half, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'd say that to any youngster today, get yourselves to juniors. It hardens you up.
Aye.
You see what happens when you're playing against men.
Do you, before you went to the juniors, compared to when you came back for the juniors at Elgin, how much a different player were you, Chico?
I'd say I was a lot stronger.
Aye. It toughens you up.
Aye. I'd say I was a lot stronger. Definitely toughens you up. Like, can you playing boys football, you never get an elbow in the face and stuff like that.
No, exactly.
The juniors is quite liable to have a black eye at the end of the game or something.
Absolutely. Sets you up well for later on in your career.
All right.
At this point in the juniors, had you moved for striker?
I started playing in midfield. I remember in all my days at Bishop, played in centre midfield, and that's where when I went to Elgin,
I
played centre midfield.
Yep. you say you were comfortable in there? Obviously, we know where you ended up later on in your career, but would you say you...
Well, I think it was when Ollie Shewn took over from John Dixon. John Dixon signed me for Elgin, but I think it was about a year and a half, 2 years later, Ollie Shewn took over, and Ollie Shewn says to me, Chico, you'd make a great centre.
Aye.
And I kind of, oh no, I like getting into the box, scoring goals.
Yep.
that was always me as a kid. And Ollie kept up me all the time. After every game, after every training session, you'd make a centre half. You could make a career of it and all this and that again. I kind of just kept a blind eye on it. Then one day, we're playing Ross County, and George McAndrew played for Elgin centre half. He was injured. And Ollie says, you're playing alongside me at the back today.
Okay.
So I hadn't any option. I was in at centre half, and I gave away a penalty just before half time. I'd owned rubbers, and I slipped. Well, the first thing I got when I got at half time, he took the rubbers and he threw them away. You'll never play with rubbers again. Then it was a dent in the side of the face.
Old school.
And from there on, I was still playing midfield some games, centre half others, but I always seemed to be, when I was centre half, if we were doing 1-0, I was shoved into midfield.
Aye, I had to go and get a goal.
See if we get a goal in there, like again.
Aye.
But probably, I regret it myself now that I hadn't played centre half.
Aye.
All my life.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember what year you made your debut for Elgin?
I say it was about 1977 or 78.
Yep. Yep. So I'm going to ask you about a game, if you possibly remember, from September 1979 versus Leicester.
Oh, I mind that game.
Aye. Do you mind who scored for Elgin that day, Chico?
Aye, me.
Yep. Do you mind who scored for Leicester?
Gary Lineker.
Gary Lineker. So I've got some info for Craig Christie before he came on. He says you can look at that one of two ways. You can look at it, Chico scored in the same game as Gary Lineker, or Gary Lineker scored in the same game as Chico. Can you remember? It was a floodlit game.
I can remember it.
Yeah.
Ronnie Breen was playing right back for Elgin, and I was playing in midfield. Ronnie, just over a halfway line, Ronnie took a throw, and I headed it in front of me, and it bounced, and I just hit it right over the top of Mark Wallington's head, in the back of the head like a bullet.
You were known for quite a few goals in your career, Chico. Free kicks, a hard shot. Craig Christie says he reckons you probably got one of the hardest shots he ever seen in the Highland League. He also gave me one. Do you remember the qualifying cup quarter final against Devonvale?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to talk us through this goal?
It wasn't too long. I think it was just maybe 15 yards over the halfway line. There was a free kick, and there was a hell of a wind. And I says, if I just hit it as hard as I can, but it landed in the back of the net like I didn't think it would.
He says to me there was a few that you took at Borough Briggs. He says that if the net wasn't there, they'd be in the Cooper Park. Like it's
well, if you don't try, you don't score.
Absolutely, my man. So early days at Elgin, 82-83, got a double. You remember that?
I think it was Ian Cummins was manager.
Yep. He played in a lot of successful Elgin teams and a lot of strong Elgin teams.
Good teams, good players.
Yeah. And we're talking a good 13, 14 year span in your playing career.
But it's not just Elgin City. There was Inverness Thistle, there was Carley, there was Ross County, there was Peterhead, there was Keith. They were all good teams.
Yep.
Every one of them. Good players.
It was always a battle. Yeah. And every one of the teams you just mentioned, it was never, you maybe get the odd team that would go on the wee run, but every year there was a different champion and a different challenge. What do you reckon was the best Elgin team you played in, Chico?
Well, the most successful team was under Pelly, so I would have to say that was the best team.
Yeah.
Everybody, not when Pelly was there, everybody was a good player.
Aye.
And I would say probably every player that played in that team could play in the Elgin team today.
Yes, aye. Pelly kind of talked us through it. Ian McArthur also talked us through it. It's just about under Pelly going out and playing football, wasn't it?
Well, Pelly was a tactical manager.
Yeah.
It was more or less like, I've got my best 11 players, get them on the park. And he wanted to go forward all the time. And he always played with 2 up front.
Yeah.
That was one thing about Pelly. He was always 2 up front.
And scored a lot of goals.
His teams.
Yeah, free-flowing attacking football.
He done it at Elgin, he done it at Huntly, he done it at Cully.
Aye, very successful. Okay, in your career, Chico, who do you reckon's the best player you played with?
Ian Wilson. Stand out.
Oh,
By a country mile.
Yep. Went on to play for Scotland, Leicester, very good career in England. What made Ian so good?
I don't know. He more or less, I think he got turned, he was at Dundee, and he got turned down at Dundee, and he was free, and Elgin signed him.
Yeah.
And it just rejuvenated his career.
Yeah.
But he had a great career after that. Again, it wasn't just Elgin, Leicester. He was in Beckett as assistant manager and
exactly.
Turkey and that. And I mind he came home from there and he was manager at Peterhead and he phoned me up and he says, Chico, he says, I mean, a centre half, would you come down and play for me? I said, I'm finished, man. He says, it was 2 years ago, I might have.
Aye.
I wouldn't have fancied that road every Saturday anyway.
No. I've asked this question before because obviously you went on to play pro and things like that.
Yeah.
What makes the difference between a semi-pro and a pro player, Chico? And a lot of the time I get the answer, it's the first touch. Is that normally the case?
Oh, well, it's easy to say, but in football, you've got to know what you're going to do with the ball before you get it.
Yeah.
You've got to anticipate what's going to happen.
Aye, 2 steps ahead always. Aye, I totally agree. Flip side of the question, Chico, who's the best player you've played against in your career?
Well, the fastest one was Paul Sturrock, I'll say that.
Aye, okay, yeah.
Probably. In Highland League football, Billy Hart was probably my hardest opponent.
Okay.
He gave you a battle every game.
Aye.
And he was as strong as I was.
Did you used to look forward to the games with him?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
And even better, me and Frizzy used to bide up in Inverness, or him and Peter Corbett would bide in Elgin, would have a pint after the games.
Aye. Yeah, that's what's all about.
Aye, it was good fun.
You didn't see that in football these days, no. Do you? It's a lot of the teams are back on that bus, they're away home, and that's it. Like,
no, it was great in these days. Once the game was finished, that was it. Everybody's the same.
And I think you'll probably back me up as Chico. People look for that social club probably more than the game.
We had some great times. The stories I could tell you now, City Social Club on a Saturday night was unreal. Climbing over the dyke at Gordon McPhail's and away up the White Horse in Johannes.
Memories for a lifetime though, isn't it? It's brilliant.
I couldn't do it now.
No. So I get a good try though. Right, I'm going to get Ryan to play a clip in a second, Chico. This is Russell Mackay telling us about a wee story that involved you, and I want you to give me your view of this version of this story because it's an interesting one. It's quite a funny one. Ryan, if you can, please.
I remember playing a cup final at Keith against Cove. I think it was to get the fourth trophy altogether.
I think it was 1-0.
And I was playing against Mike Cormack, who's quite a solid midfielder. And the goalkeeper had kicked out the ball, and all I heard was Chico's. And when he's shouting, I'm getting out of the way. And all I remember was Mike Cormack coming back the way, Chico going forward, and this sickening crack. And what happened is Chico's face had got Mike Cormack in the back of the head. Oof. So I just heard that and I turned round and I seen Chico just shake his head. Then obviously his teeth was loose and he pulled out a tooth and then spat out another one. His mouth is teeming of blood, Shook his head, got on with it, and the referee had stopped the game.
Can you remember that, Chico?
Definitely, but it wasn't. It probably wasn't as sad as it looked.
Aye, okay.
Aye, when you see blood, the first thing you think, there's something. But the teeth is not clean. It's same like going to the dentist.
That's mental. Did you lose a few teeth in your career, Chico? Aye. Okay. There we go. Answers Ahin. Right, so it leads me.
I just put my head in front of anything. I was not. I was not shy.
Broken noses.
Aye. I've had one.
Brilliant. Okay, so it leads me nicely into my next question. What's the biggest scrap you've been involved in football?
You mean?
So the Highland League was rough back in the day. Things would kick off now and again. Can you remember any?
I can't remember anything being real nasty.
No.
Nah. Everybody.
Can you remember any punch ups? Because there was a few punch ups, and it was normally just when the referee wasn't looking, and it'd be over in a minute or so. But
I cannot remember anything really bad.
No. Okay, that's actually surprised me a wee bit. But the next one, who's the hardest guy you ever faced? Who was on your own level, Chico? You thought this guy can fucking put himself about like.
Well, Charlie Barber at Keith, he was about 6'6".
Jesus Christ!
And he was big, and he was strong, and he was good in the air.
Mm-hmm.
And he could physically match me.
Aye.
And I could get the better of most players. I would say that.
Yeah.
But Billy Hart was strong as well. But Charlie Barber was what a strength of man.
Aye.
He was 6'6". No, big lad.
Yeah.
Peter headed. Well, he was at Keith at that time. But I can remember when John Sivery, Gordon McIntyre, and Charlie Barber all played for Peterhead, and the whole lot of them were 6'5", 6'6".
Aye.
Big players. Like I used to mark John Sivery at the corner, and I had no intentions of going for a bar.
Aye.
I just jumped right into his chest, so he couldn't have beat me there.
it's tactics. It's got to. It works, you know. Aye, you've got to play to your strengths. You know, I do like that. One of the stories we've heard, and I've heard it from a few people, was Frazee was quite a hardy wee player.
Oh, he was good in tackle.
Aye. And for Frazee's nae a great height, you know, quite a wee guy, tough as an ox.
He was tough. Frazee tackled with the sole of his boot.
Okay.
You wouldn't have got away with it today, but he tackled with the sole of his boot all the time, and he was strong. He was a hard little
player. And I'm kind of looking through your 11. A lot of them boys, you go into battle with them lads, wouldn't you? It's
well, I've got in my 11 3 players up front, and they were John Teasdale, John McGinley, and Frizzy Kellis. And I'll just say the 3 of them would go to battle with anybody.
Aye.
And they would go to battle with anybody on a Saturday night as well. And they were all good players and streetwise.
Yeah. That's quality, Chico. Right. This is an interesting one because I'm wondering if you're going to be roughly the same as Frazee with this answer. What's your first World Cup memories? It's normally the first unlocking a football in a young man's life.
Well, I'd say 1970 when Brazil.
Oh, what a World
Brazil
Cup.
won. And Brazil beat Italy 4-1 in the final. And what I do remember that World Cup was Jorginho scoring every goal, every game.
Yeah.
And Jorginho, Gerson, Tostão, Pelé, Revellino, that was the front 5.
That's brilliant. And right in thinking in first coloured World Cup, you would have been.
I probably was.
Aye. Ahin was kind of. That's still seen.
The captain of Brazil at that time was Carlos Alberto.
Right back, yeah.
Played right midfield.
Right midfield. And that Brazil team to this day still seen in one of the best teams of all time.
I always remember. I like Brazil. Well, I think everybody liked watching Brazil. And I went out to Copacabana Stadium, me and the wife.
Okay.
I can't mind who was in the cup final, but we went to see it. It was 180,000.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's mental. Yeah. And we think 4,500 Elgin's a big crowd, and it's 180,000 a different kettle of fish.
You only get that every 10 years.
Exactly. So I kind of touched on it before, but you had a success. You had a good bit of success. You won quite a few trophies at Elgin and things like that as a player.
I only won one league championship medal, but
a lot of cups and things like that.
Won a lot of Highland League cups, qualifying cups, North of Scotland cups.
Yep. 1989, 1990 was the title.
I think we won the treble, did we?
You did.
Aye.
Yep. You want to talk us through that season? It's the Pele season.
It was just a team that went in the park. You never thought you get beat. Didn't matter if you were doing 2-0.
Yep.
You would turn it round.
Yeah, exactly.
It just seemed to be. Pele got all the players in a bit, and everybody seemed to be full of confidence.
Was that Elgin boys as well? Majority of them as well.
I think it was the only time in my career that everybody was training at Elgin.
Aye.
And there was 5 or 6 Elgin boys, which was unheard of, because when I first went to Elgin, there was only me and Frizzy
Yep.
at Elgin. And usually Bishopmill trained with us, or we trained with Bishopmill.
Aye. But you had been involved in the first team as boys like Ian MacArthur and Russell Mackay were coming through.
They were coming through, young lads.
Special at a young age. Did you notice it?
Aye. I always remember Ian MacArthur. I says to somebody, I'm just going to be a player.
Aye.
I just knew right away.
Yep.
Then Russell came from, well, he went, Ian MacArthur was with Bishopmill, but Russell Mackay was with Bargate Thistle.
Aye, that's right.
And Russell came up, and Russell, he was just a slim little boy, but he hardly sell up once me and Frizzy get stuck in about me training.
That's the best way. Teach him young. Brilliant.
He ended up quite a hardy little player now, Russell, after that.
Aye. Was it obvious for a young age with Russell, like first touch, passing ability and things like that, technical?
He had it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say you're born with it, but most people are.
Aye. Yeah, to play at a certain level, you've got to have
you've
something.
either got it or you haven't got it.
I agree. Right, I'm going to ask you about 6'2", eyes are blue. Chico Mchardy's coming for you. When was the first time you heard that, Chico?
The Scotland fans were singing it about Jim Holton.
That's a brilliant answer. Because that used to ring out in the terrace, didn't it?
Yes.
It did. Something you don't really hear in an Elgin game these days is singing.
No.
Elgin
had quite a vocal support at that time, and
yeah.
Did they get 100 away fans with them away to away game?
Aye. Yeah, exactly.
They're lucky if they get 800 at a home game now.
Aye.
Ken?
Do you think playing in front of a bigger crowd was well, I'm not saying the Elgin aren't doing so great this season, because they're doing all right this season and things like that. Do you think the crowds do make a difference to a team like Elgin, because it's such a community and team mentality?
Definitely. Especially if you get on top of the other team.
Aye.
And your crowd's behind you.
Yeah.
Well, like, I can remember when I played, like, if I hit somebody with a hard tackle in the middle of the park,
you'd hear it.
You'd hear it, and all the crowd would get up for it, and you'd hear everybody in the ground up for it.
And it's also things like, I'll go back to, I think Russell Mackay mentioned him, and John Teasdale mentioned him as well. Opposition players getting booed. So guys like Gordon Conley used to come to Elgin and get booed off the park, but it was because he was a good player, you know. And do you think that used to make a difference for Elgin teams, that the crowd could get on opposition backs? And you didn't hear that now.
Well, I don't know, because every player's different.
Aye.
Players could shout and ball. The crowd could shout and ball at me if they went to. It wouldn't make any difference to my game.
No. The kind of player where you probably used to get a bit of jip for other crowds, did you, Chico?
Always.
So,
but the good thing in these days was they could shout and ball at you or whatever you want. You were in for a pint after the game. They're all speaking to you. It was great.
Aye, exactly. There's that mutual respect.
Aye, it was good.
I think people can think of that and they think he's a good football player at the end of the day. I've just watched a bit of entertainment and I can respect that. I keep going back to it, but these days it's not there. It's a different game altogether. You can give me a better answer to this than probably anyone that I've asked so far, because you've played in the Highland League in kind of a bit of a glory era. You are also managed in the Highland League and things. How different is that Highland League these days to 20, 30, 40 years ago?
The crowds, for a start off.
Yep.
As I'll say, there was no computers, Game Boys, mobile phones or nothing when we played. Everybody, every kid went home from his school, got changed, went out and played football.
Aye. difference.
I could go a run round Elgin with you now,
Wouldn't
and
have
I
seen
can't. We wouldn't see anybody playing for me.
No, we wouldn't have. No.
No.
It's-
Ken, it's definitely changed.
mhm.
And another thing is, you see it yourself, I've seen it last night, teams playing out from the back and all this and that, you can. Way back in the day, the managers just put the team in the park and you played. And that's the way that you got youngsters like Dickie Johnston not beating 3 or 4 men and that. You can, and they used their own basic skills.
Mhm.
Can it? And I think it should still be that way.
So do I. Aye. You learn to play different. I heard a great saying, and somebody says you learn to play different when you're out in the street playing 1-2s with curbs. You
That's
know,
right. Playing 1 and out, 3 and in, whatever I can.
aye, World Cup, Cup A, the
time,
lot. Aye, headers and volleys, and
That's right.
I miss
You
all
didn't
that.
see anybody playing football today.
No. If it's nae on a pitch and it's nae a training setting, you wouldn't see them playing it.
No.
There's no such thing as jumpers for goalposts these days. It's, so who would you consider, in your opinion, your favourite football player ever, Chico?
Maradona.
Just because of what he done to England.
Well, I actually seen Maradona play his first game for Argentina against Scotland
Yep.
at Hampden.
Aye.
I think he was 16 or 17.
Yep.
And as soon as I seen him, just what a player this boy is.
Mhm.
I just followed him after that, and
Aye.
fantastic.
And these is
But he was built, he was really well built and strong. You couldn't knock him off the bar, nothing.
no.
Oh.
And this is before the days of social media where you actually, if you couldn't read about a player, you had to go and watch him in the flesh to see him.
That's right.
And
In these days, we never missed a Scotland game.
no. Kind of going back to Celtic, Chico, did you get down to the games at all?
I used to, but I haven't been doing the last 3 or 4 years. In the Martin O'Neill era,
Mhm.
I don't think I missed a game.
That's it, yeah.
Aye.
It's
But I haven't went the last 3 or 4 years, I'll be quite honest.
Yeah.
I just sit at home watching TV.
well, I suppose a good time to speak about Martin O'Neill era. What an era, because I think that's the last great Celtic team, isn't it?
That's right. But we must remember is Martin O'Neill was a good manager, but there's no other Celtic managers get money to spend on players like he did.
No.
Ken you were paying, I can't mind, was it 6 million for Hearts and 6 million for Saturn?
Yeah.
Away, and as we're speaking a long time ago.
Aye. That's 20 million these days. Aye.
Ken, you think of your Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, they've not got that spent today.
No, they don't. And it also inheriting players like Henrik Larsson and Lubo, Big Bobo Baldi, and
Fantastic players.
yeah.
Melby and them were great players.
Did you get to any of the games during the 2003 UEFA Cup run and things like that?
I would have been doing I don't think I missed a game. Huh?
Aye. That team, I think, it still gets talked about these days because that team can compete with any team in England on its day. And
Well, I remember when we went to Blackburn,
aye,
as soon as it's men against boys,
there we go.
the crowd let them know it.
Aye. And that was the thing when we were going down to England, 'cause we played Liverpool in that run as well. We were taking huge crowds with us, and I think a lot of people are shocked by the size of Celtic, and I'll not take it away for Rangers. The two clubs are massive, and the argument that they would never compete in England, if you gave them the same revenue fund, within the 5 years they'd be top 5 in England.
Definite.
There's no denying that.
Definitely. Celtic and Rangers could both have stadiums with 100,000 people and would fill them every week if they were not league.
Yep. Celtic got a 60,000 seater stadium and there's 60,000 on the waiting list for the next.
I think they're trying to get up to 80 or 90,000. So there's,
Unbelievable, isn't it?
I don't know where they'll go at the back car park.
So you had a wee spell at Cove.
Aye.
Was it just a change of scene you did, Chico?
Well, Malcolm, we had a couple of years at Elgin where we were winning nothing.
Aye.
We were winning nothing. I was getting a bit disgruntled then. And I'll be quite honest, I don't mind saying it. If you came from Aberdeen, you get X amount of pounds to sign for Elgin City.
Yeah. Aye.
And we were at Elgin and we were getting pennies.
Right.
And I brought up the argument. There's only boys like me and Frizzy would speak. The rest of the boys wouldn't say anything. And I says it was Frank Mason was chairman at the time. And Frank says, Chico, your contract's up at the end of the season. I says, how much you want to sign? I says, £1,000. £1,000? I thought it was £1 million I'd asked for. And I says, oh, no. I says, I'm not signing. We weren't winning nothing anyway.
Aye.
And so I says, I'll go away. So anyway, I was free. And Carly, I went and spoke to Peter Corbett at Carly, spoke to Wilson up at Ross County. Then Cove came in, they gave me X amount of pounds, so I signed. Then we're playing, I think it was Inverness Thistle, to get into the Scottish Cup for Cove, and it was a Sunday. And I get a train through, and the train broke down at Inverurie.
Okay.
Contour, run about that area. So I get out the train and walked across the park and got a taxi. And asked him to pay for the taxi. And he wouldn't pay for the taxi. So I played the game and I says, I'll never be back.
Aye. Right.
I says, I'll never be back.
Mm-hmm. Stand on your own 2 feet, Chico. Quite right, my man.
That was it. I just never went back. So Billy took over as manager just after that. And I met Billy in the Thunderton. Billy says, come up and sign for Elgin. I said, I ain't bother.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I can't quite remember, but I think Elgin had to pay Cove £1,000.
Aye.
And I went back. And it was another carry over money. Again, you were acting like a kid.
Aye.
You're signing on fee and that. And they were saying, oh, you've had your signing on fee from Cove and all this and that. But two men in the committee, they're due, they come up with the coffers to me.
Yeah. Good thing they did. A good thing they did. And then, kind of leading into 90s, you had a wee spell as manager?
Aye. Well, when I took over as manager, Ian Fleming was manager before me. When I took over as manager, it was in pre-season, and we were left with about 4 or 5 players.
Aye.
I'll be quite honest. So I had to go and hake round the junior teams and this and that. And that's where Neely White, Stuart Cameron, Mikey Green out in the Sunday League.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned out to be quite good high league players.
Aye, very good, yeah.
I was quite willing to give them their chance. They were all local boys, and if we'd had the boys training at Elgin, there was a bit of harmony.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next season, we had one season in, we were all a bit better. Then I had a Don McVicker and Dougie Scott, and they came in, and it was fine to get a few experienced players into the team. I knew that's what we were needing.
Yeah. Because
I always remember we played Brora about 2 games to go at the end of the season, and I played myself.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Strachan was chairman of the club, and he says, what are you playing for? I said, I'll tell you what I'm playing for. Because I think we need a leader on the pitch, and I want on the pitch myself.
Yeah.
And that's what we were needing, and that's the way I signed Don McVicker.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was a leader on the pitch.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what team you've got, you need somebody on the pitch that can poke and paint and tell folk what to do.
Absolutely. I had a good few mentions of Don on the podcast, Chico. How good a player was Don? He was
a very good, experienced player.
Yeah.
He'd have been a lot better when he was younger. Like he came to us, he must have been about 30, 31.
Mm-hmm.
Really good player, good left pegging, intelligent.
Yep.
Player, good passer of the ball, good in the tackle.
I've heard he passed on a lot to the younger players as well. Was constantly speaking to them.
I didn't think any of the younger players could say a bad word about him.
Yep.
Good player. Sorry, he's no waste now.
Absolutely. You won a League Cup as a manager.
Aye.
1996, I think.
So it was against Cove.
Aye.
Totally.
And I still think it's one of the last trophies Elgin won. Couldn't say the last one, but it's one of the last ones they won before they moved up to the...
Aye, we won the North of Scotland Cup against Carly at Inverness.
Was that after the League Cup?
I was after the League Cup. The same season now.
Yeah. So a sponsor. Got a sponsor.
About time.
Yeah, about time. Thank you to Chris Foote, Elgin City director, Elgin City women's team director, for sponsors for the season. You're going to be hearing Chris Foote a hell of a lot over the next year.
Yes, in the words of former guest Chris Saunderson, if it moves, Chris Foote can get it sponsored.
Yep. And this podcast is definitely moving in the right direction.
See, this is good advertisement right now.
So yeah, Chris is going to be coming to an episode as well.
Entering the sweepstakes of who's been in the studio on all podcasts that are produced in here.
Yeah, because it's a running one between
you,
myself, Dom,
Matty Slinger, Chris Saunderson. I know he kind of hosts two of them, but
Chris Foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just kind of like, let's just say, pimping ourselves out to podcasts. But yeah, Chris will be on to speak about Elgin City Women, Man City, unfortunately for Ryan.
Well,
but
it was looking like it was going to go horribly right, didn't it? But now it's kind of looking like it's going down.
To be fair to Chris, he's a Man City fan since like the 80s.
Yeah, so he's been at like York and the Paul Dickov playoff final and all that stuff.
Down in like the third division and stuff like that. So he's a proper Man City fan. So thank you to Chris Foot for sponsoring us for the year. You'll be seeing his name all over our posts, all over our social media, hearing his name a lot in the podcast, but it's for a good reason, because he's helping us keep the lights on at the Lighthouse Podcast Studio. Yeah, so I've actually got that written down. And that's just, you're talking on the edge of Elgin. I want to join the league system and things like that. So it's kind of something you've got to wear a wee badge of pride, because that's the last Highland League days at Elgin, hopefully ever. But you kind of had a wee bit of success there, and
I had a wee bit of success, but then Harry McFadden came in as a general manager, and Harry was winning the manager's job at Elgin.
Aye.
I'll be quite honest. He was winning the manager's job at Elgin City, and he couldn't get me out the door quick enough. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's what happened. But I was getting to the point that I was that busy between building houses to myself and business and that, that I wouldn't have been able to do it anyway.
Aye,
much longer anyway. But I was still bitter about what happened. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't have been able to do it any more.
No. What do you reckon's your proudest achievement in your whole career, Chico? Your proudest of?
Probably when I signed for Elgin.
Yeah, I love that answer.
Probably when I signed for Elgin. Because Elgin was very well supported at the time, and everybody went to football. Everybody. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can all the boys in your class went to football? Everybody went to football. Signing for Elgin's probably the proudest moment.
Captain armband on for a good few seasons as well.
Aye.
I've not been able to ask this. I asked Russell this because he was captain for a wee while as well. Different feeling being hometown boy, putting that armband on and leading them out.
It didn't make any difference to me, but suppose it might to some people.
Aye,
but didn't make it. It was just another game to me.
Yeah, I love it.
Get on. Keep everybody right in the park. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Give them a kick in the arse if they need it.
Brilliant. Okay, I'm just going to do a wee bit for my Patreon, Chico, and then I'm going to get in year 11 with you, my man. So if you're enjoying listening to us and you want to watch us, get yourself into Patreon. Podcast is proudly sponsored by Chris Foot, Elgin City director, Elgin City Women's director just now. Get down and watch an Elgin game soon. I'm going to put in another ad read for that as well, Ryan. 1 to 11, so I'm going to read through it, Chico, and then we'll pick it apart, man. So your 1 to 11 goes Nicky Walker, Ian MacArthur, Nephew McLennan, Chico Mchardy, Ali Shewan, Mike Teasdale, Russell Mackay, Ian Wilson, John Teasdale, John McGinley, Frazy Kellis. Nicky Walker, I think it's our first Nicky Walker we've had on. You'd played Nicky as a young lad, did you?
Aye, Nicky came from Keith to Elgin. Mm-hmm. I think he might have been 15, 16.
Yep.
I'd been a couple of years older. And he done really well. Then he went away to Leicester.
That's right, yeah.
At that time, that's when me and Nicky became good friends. Mm-hmm. And we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, brilliant. Do you ever play with a young Alan Main as well?
Yes, Alan Main, I remember him. He came from Lossie. Elgin signed him. Another tremendous young lad, good keeper.
Yep.
Alan done well. He went in Dundee United.
Absolutely. 2 keepers who went on and had great careers. We've spoke about it before. Previous guest, another guy actually got to a high level in his career, was Mr. Ian MacArthur.
Ian had the right attitude. He was fast. He was strong.
Yeah.
He was a very, very fit player.
Heard the general consensus that Ian was always an 8 out of 10. Very rarely had a bad game.
I would not think so. No, Ian was a good player.
Brilliant. Neefy on the other side.
Well, I would rate Neefy probably the best fullback that's ever played for Elgin.
That's a huge statement, and I'd find it hard to find somebody who would disagree with that. It's
he was just a steady player. He was like your Dennis Irwin of Manchester United.
Yeah,
he could play right back, left back. He played sweeper. He could play anywhere.
Yep, and he wasn't the quickest of players, but he used that brain very well.
If you use your head, you don't need to be fast.
That's exactly it. I love it when people put themselves in. Chico, how would you have felt playing in this team if you could have had this team as it is? Would you? You'd have just destroyed the Highland League having this 11 put together, wouldn't you have?
Walked it. You wouldn't get teams like that.
No. One of the questions I'm going to ask is: are you taking the armband in this team?
I might as well.
Aye, brilliant, good man. So we've had a wee mention of him before, Ali Shewan.
Ali came from Elgin. Came from Aberdeen to Elgin. He was left back at Aberdeen. He was captain at Aberdeen. What a player.
Yeah.
Strong. Yeah. I've never seen anybody with thighs like him in a football pitch.
Yeah.
Great leader. Here he could ping about 40, 50 yards right at somebody's feet. Everything. Played from the back. He played left back for Aberdeen, but when he came to Elgin, he played centre half for sweeper again.
Aye.
It was him that made me into centre half.
Did you learn quite a lot from him as he came?
Well, if you didn't do what you was told, you got a belt in the chin. It was simple as that, and I'm not joking.
Mad. Aye. Would you kind of take things that you've seen him do and use that in your own, or was it just a case of little nuggets of information?
Well, he drilled things into you. Like Kenny used to say to me, every time you get into a tackle, leave something on a player. It doesn't matter if it's your elbow, your boot or something. Leave something on. Let them know you're there.
Yeah.
He says, no, they come back.
No. Would you have been his legs, Chico? So would you be the one going and meeting the ball and letting him drop in behind?
Yeah. I was going to win everything and he would just sweep up behind me.
Aye. Didn't I see a lot of that in football these days, do you?
Well, I watched Celtic last night and they had nobody that could do it. The two central defenders were square all the time.
Aye. And another man who can answer me better than most people this. Do you agree with me, Chico, that nobody can header a bar these days?
You didn't see it so much, no.
It's... No. You get boys that'll header it, but it's not a proper header at a bar.
No. There's no Andy Grace.
No, exactly. Look, I spoke about him earlier, but one of the best headers of football I ever seen was John Hartson.
Yes,
and he could properly, and Mo tells us quite well in training, because I train with Mo every week. He says you don't want a looping ball. He says you want a direct ball at your head to get a bit of power on that football.
If there's a ball driven across, you just need to put your head to it.
Aye, exactly.
Just direct it.
Yeah, you don't need to put any
pieces on the ball.
Exactly, and not a lot of people realise that. You don't.
That's where boys like John Teasdale and Frizzy Kellis could cross a bar hard.
And your wingers these days, they cut inside, they didn't go outside, and strikers are just nae the same as they were.
Wingers are nae like what they were. In your day, the winger had to get to the byline and cut the ball back across the 6-yard box or back to the penalty spot for the boys running onto it.
Aye, exactly. You didn't see it anymore. Mike Teasdale. Mike went on to play at a high level himself, and
Mike was a boy you could pass the ball to him outside your 18-yard box and he could carry it to the other 18-yard box. He could carry the ball forward.
Aye.
He'd some engine on him.
I've heard that. If you could only have one in your team out of the two Teasdales, which one are you taking, Chico?
That's
a question.
It's a hard question. That's a one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, John's liable to put the ball in the net at the other end, so I'll say John.
Okay. Another guy that went on to captain, Elgin, Russell Mackay.
Good player, Russell. He came to us as a young lad. He's a wee frail lad, and he just built himself up through the years, get better and better all the time. But he had a good touch in him, and he was for being he was like a small thin lad then. He could put his about.
Aye.
And he was willing to get stuck in, and his distribution was very good.
Perfect. A few folk that Russell could have probably played at a higher level if he wanted. Do you agree with that?
He probably could have.
Yep. Okay.
But there's so many players like that can play at a higher level, but you've got to be taken away at 17, 18-year-old. Now when you're 22, 23.
Aye, I know what you mean. Ryan, you'll be able to tell me, what was the club that Russell went to? Was it?
I believe it was Sheffield United.
Sheffield United, that was it. He was on trial there as a young lad, and obviously came back to Elgin. Thankfully for our club, he did, because he went on to have a great career with us. We'll speak about him again. Best player you ever played with, Ian Wilson. Did you make the game easy for you?
You could go in the ball. You could beat 3 or 4 boys and put in the back in it.
Aye.
He was like an old-fashioned winger, but he played in midfield again.
Aye, right, okay. Aye. Just go on these runs.
Aye. Oh, fantastic. His vision was, well, as I'll always say, he was streets ahead of anything I ever seen in the Highland League.
Yeah.
That's the best compliment I can give him.
Absolutely. JT, John Teasdale.
John's John. John's John, but John was a good player. He'd even at Nairn County, when he was a young lad, under Innes MacDonald, he was there. You could see there was a player there.
Aye.
And then he went down to Wolves, and obviously he did really well there. Then he came back to Elgin, and I think it was Belly. He came back with.
He did, yeah.
If I remember right. And he came back, and great kicker of ball.
That's what I keep hearing. A clean striker of the
He was
football.
a clean striker of ball. I put a lot of balls in the back of it from corners, and John took corners. He put a corner across, but he was going at pace, and you just put your head there.
Aye, yeah. Someone I'll hopefully one day get on this podcast, because we've had so many mentions of him. John McGinley.
John.
As a young man, how special was he?
John, he could put the ball in the back in it.
Aye.
And if a ball was played over the top of the defence, he was on it like a flash. And as I say, he can put the ball in the back in it. And that's.
Did it surprise you, Chico, that he went on to have multi-million-pound transfers and things like that? No.
It didn't. It wasn't a surprise to me.
Yeah, that's.
John, he just had something about him. He had an aura about him that he could score a goal. But at the same time, John, he'd walked into training with a fish up or something. He wouldn't have got away with that once he went to that team's. But
yeah. No, I've actually heard something about that before. That's brilliant. And we'll finish off with the wee legend, because I speak to him all the time. He's always got a wee smile on his face. Was he like that as a player, Frazy Kellis? I always had a smile on his face. Like,
aye, Frazy was an aggressive player.
Aye,
aggressive player. Even at training, every tackle was a tackle. When we were at Elgin, there was 2 teams. I'd have one team, Frazy had the other. And here. Tackles at training had been signed either day. There was nobody been dirty, nobody going over the top of the bar, but everything was hard.
Aye. Just a quick one, Chico. Who do you reckon was the best manager you played under in your career?
Well, Pelly was most successful.
Mm-hmm.
But I had good managers, Ian Cummins.
Teach you a lot and things like that.
Ian Cummins.
Yeah.
Ian Cummins was probably more tactical manager than most of the managers I played in the low. I've got a list here. I think I had about 10 managers.
Wow, okay.
John Dixon, Early Shewan, Willie Grant, Ken Tedcastle, Malcolm Cowie, Davy Cochrane, Pelly, Brian Black, Mike Winton, and Davy Cochrane.
Aye. Willie Grant, that's
I blast my past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Aye, Willie. I think Willie's last game as manager at Elgin, we're playing a cup final at Nairn against Clark or Carley, and he took a heart attack for a game.
Wow. Right. Okay.
And I think that was the end of him. Then Davy Cochrane took over for a while after it.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's when Ian Cummins came.
Aye. So, kind of with the podcast, Chico. I start with the same question. I end with the same question. Before I get into the question, because I did mention earlier on, you quite a free kick taker in your day. Was it just a case of hit it and go, hit it as hard as we can, or did you have a technique? Would you try and?
I would hit the bar. Aye, this is honest. Like Ronaldo would hit it, going up and down.
Yep.
And I would aim for a goalkeeper every time.
Okay. Aye.
And usually the bar went. Sometimes out the back and head, sometimes over the top.
So the last question leading on for that is, if there's a penalty that needs scored to save your life, who takes your penalty? It can be anyone. You.
Aye.
Yep. Did you take a few in your career?
Aye. I took them all the time at Elgin before I went to Cove. Then Russell started taking them. Then when I came back, if Russell wasn't playing, I would take him. But if Russell was playing, he took him.
What was your technique, Chico?
I just left-hand corner, hit it as hard as I could hit it.
Aye. Left hand with the right foot.
Aye.
Yep. Go across the keeper every time.
Always.
Yeah. Been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Chico. Thank you very much. It's been good to look back. Always good to look back, and some fond memories there, and some good wee stories for us. Anyone listening, give us a wee follow. Give us a wee rating on Spotify. I've got 46, so 205 followers. Give us a wee rating. I'm going to post up some photos as well on the Facebook page. Chico's kindly given us a wee line of his scrapbook to take some photos of, and I'm going to, as the episode's going up, it'll be up over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to show some photos of some newspaper clippings, some photos of old teams and things like that with Chico in. Appreciate your time, Chico. Thank you for, obviously, your service to Elgin, because we're all Elgin fans at the end of the day. Thank you for your support with Bishopmill on social media and things like that. Yeah, that's us. The Football Journals is now on Patreon. If you sign up on Patreon for just £5 a month, you can get access to our upcoming guests and the chance to ask your own questions, the ability to watch our podcast with full video exclusive, audio only on all other platforms. You can get your episodes earlier than anyone else, sometimes a few days, sometimes a week, but you will get your episodes earlier than everyone else. Chance to request guests of your choice. We will do them our utmost to get them on the show, if obviously within reason. I can't go asking Cristiano Ronaldo on the show. And one bonus episode per month. There's already a bonus episode on there. You'll get a further bonus episode every month. Sign up today at patreon.com/footballjournals, capital F, capital J. That's a sign up today at patreon.com/footballjournals, capital F, capital J.